Welcome to another episode of Buckle Up with Simon and Brian, an ultra running conversation. How are you doing this evening, Simon?
I'm doing great, Brian. It was great to see you. It was great to see everyone at Leadville 100 mile. And now a week has passed and I'm feeling much better physically. So that's always great. But how about yourself? How are your knees?
My knees are well. I did have some issues at Leadville, not with my knee though, with my Achilles, and my Achilles is healing well as well. All things coming together, back together, starting to train again and get back into it. Leadville is always a great time. We just see so many friends. We got to spend quite a bit of time with you guys between the bike weekend and the run weekend. Always a great time. Always a fan favorite.
Yeah, and I think it's important to highlight to people, Brian finishes ninth Leadville 100 mile run, meaning that the 10-year buckle is in sight, which is extremely exciting. And we're very, very excited for you, Brian. That's a huge undertaking.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been. It was always in the background of my mind, even when I was thinking of quitting this race at mile 45. I thought, gosh, do I want to come back out for two more times, or do I just want to get this done? And so I muscled through it. It wasn't pretty. It got a little ugly, but I did get it done. I think it's my worst finish ever, 29-21. But either way, I got a buckle, I got a finish, and I can move on and count it towards the goal of 10 plus Leadville finishes. So I'm 9.
Yeah, look, Brian.
I'm 9 done.
And you say to everyone, right? Like you make fun of people with their little buckle, but look, you got the buckle, you got under 30 hour. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. We line up on the starting line with the primary goal being coming back on 6th Street and Harrison under 30 hour. That is the primary goal. Nothing else matters. I think our guest today exemplified that.
Cole Giovannetti was the last ass over the pass. That's an award given to the final official finisher under 30 hours at the Leadville Trail 100.
It's always exciting at Leadville. It's tradition. You go in the golden hour, you go watch people finish, people climbing that little hill, and you see them, and there's about, I don't know the distance, but maybe 0.4 miles, 0.5 miles, and then you look at your watch and say, ooh, this is tight, and everyone is cheering them. But we were there. You were there still, right, at the line. I mean, you were around, but you were still in pain, I think.
I didn't even have to come back this year because I was already there for the golden hour. I finished in the golden hour. I was sitting at the finish line in the very back near the medical tent. I actually was not in the medical tent, but I was sitting in a chair in the shade near the medical tent, watching the runners come across the line from that angle for the golden hour. So yeah, super exciting. Always the height of the race, no matter where you finish or don't finish, quite honestly. In the years that I DNF'd, the 2 times that I DNF'd at Leadville, I did come back and watch the golden hour. And that's a little bittersweet. That's a tough pill to swallow, but still, it's part of the process. You have to go out and watch the golden hour.
The reminder that and I think it's important. The reminder that I like to tell to people is the last pass over the pass award is the last finisher. It's not the last runner. It's not the last position. About half of the runner don't finish Leadville 100. So really, it's about seeing that goal, and you'll be at May Queen, and people will pass that cutoff at May Queen and be in time in theory, but still drop and not make it to the finish line. You got to push those last 12-ish mile to make it on time. It's going to be tight. And that shows grit and determination. And that's really what we wanted to talk today with Cole in this episode.
Yeah, it was really great to connect with Cole, hear his journey to Leadville. He and his group from Memphis, Tennessee, is really passionate about the Leadville Trail 100. They seem to come out in droves for the last couple of years. So without further ado, we hope you enjoy our conversation with Cole Giovannetti, the last ass over the pass. for coming on the show this evening. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. A lot better than this time last week. Thank you for having me.
Cole, this time last week, we are recording on Sunday night. It is exactly 1 week past post Leadville Trail 100. A week ago, Sunday morning, you finished. You were the last ass over the pass, which is an award given to the last official finisher of the Leadville Trail 100.
That's right. I finished last. I don't think there's ever been an award more appropriate for me, to be honest with you. So I'll take it.
All right, Cole. How did you get into sport, and how did you get into training and racing and ultra running?
Oh man, that's a podcast within itself. I would say it goes back to 2009, 2008. I was 265 pounds, and Thanksgiving night, enjoying some red wine and some food, too much of both. And my dad approached me and basically said, look, you're 28, 20, whatever age I was, late 20s. Your grandfather passed away at the young age of 64, 65 years old. And you currently don't have any responsibility in life, kids that you may or may not hear running downstairs, a wife, but you soon will. And it could get too late, and you need to get yourself, in better health and better condition. I grew up an athlete, played sports, and I didn't take offense to it. That's not my personality, but I took competitive offense to it. So I showed up the next day with his group of friends that worked out every day at the country club. And from there, it's kind of, I don't know that I've ever met. This is probably this last week of being off post Leadville is probably the longest I've ever gone since that time, not working out, finding a way to compete and stay healthy. So
Cole, that's interesting that you found it through a comment through a family member in 2008. How did you get into the ultra running scene specifically, and when did that come about, and what does that look like for you so far?
Yeah, so, in that same sort of story, that same group of guys and girls that were working out at the country club with them, in the winter, it was every day. This is pre-text messaging, right? So we were operating through email, and in the summer, it was always at 4:00 we would work out. In the winter. In the summers, they would move it to 6 a.m. and they would incorporate the pool. So like pre-swim team showing up and all the kids that were out for the summer swimming. And we would take dumbbells and things out to the pool deck, do some like 50-meter, 100-meter sprints, jump out, do thrusters, do burpees, whatever it was. It also happened to be the same pool that some triathletes would swim at. And I happened to work with a guy that it still is a very really good triathlete in Memphis. He called me at work that later that day and was like, hey, man, do you do triathlons? Have you ever thought about them? I was like, no, never. Like, I'm just a fat kid trying to lose some weight. And he's like, well, you're a really good swimmer. And I was like, I don't know, like whatever. So anyway, he invited me to come to a triathlon. And again, sport was always something I grew up playing. I loved to compete. And so I took him up on it, went and did it, got my ass kicked in that triathlon, and I think getting your ass kicked, you do one of two things. You either quit or you figure out a way to get better. And I figured out a way to get better, moved my way up through that sport, did the 2015, I think, Chattanooga Ironman. Then got out of that, just got really tired. I actually got fed up with biking. The bike world of just like basically being able to buy speed pisses me off. And so I got out of triathlon and got into an ultra distance obstacle course race called World's Toughest Mudder. So it's basically an AMRAP. So as many loops as you can do of an obstacle course in 25 and a half hours. Did that in 2017. And then from there, I was broken, but not, there was something I needed more. Like I'm always kind of just let's press the limits. And then in 2019 signed up for Leadville for 2020, which obviously got canceled. Did it anyway, took a group of probably 40 people up there, essentially did the same exact course. Had to change it up a little bit because some private property and things, but then did it again in 21. So that's sort of the iteration of getting to today.
So how did it go actually your first time racing Leadville in 21?
21 was a little bit of a learning experience. I mean, I had knowledge of the course, obviously, from 2020. I did camp. I think my goal was, my coach is this guy, Nick Lewis. So Nick finished second in Leadville in 2012, maybe. I'm not quite sure. He is a Memphis guy, has recently moved to Little Rock, Arkansas, which is just down the road, a couple hours. So Nick was helping me. Nick, the beauty of Nick is that he sees, I don't think he quite sees me in him, but he sees me as a lot faster than I'm capable of probably going. So I pushed really, really, really hard. I mean, we wanted to try to go 27, and then if you go 27, like see what happens with 20 miles to go and maybe get a big buckle. That's kind of laughable. And I just kind of blew up. I did great all the way to essentially the bottom of power line. And I don't know that I ran another step of the course. I've looked back at 21 till this year, and my splits on May Queen Inn. This year, I beat myself by like an hour and 20. So I just went too fast, too early. And you right, like that's part of experience, right? You got to live and learn from your mistakes, and I think I did that. So it was awesome. I think there's a lot of. I own a gym, and I always tell people it's a hell of a lot easier you learn quicker by blowing up in a workout or a race or whatnot. It's easier to step back a notch than it is to finish and have a lot in the tank, especially for hundreds, right? You can only do so many, or normal people can only do so many. So I was fine with the result. I just had to basically pace it out and get myself under the clock. I think I did right around 29 hours in 21. So
I mean, it's actually impressive. So you walk 80 miles and you still did 29?
20.
No, the other way around, Simon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Power
I
line
see.
up.
Oh, you blew up. Okay. I see.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. Which, I mean, obviously, like running, y'all, I'm assuming, Simon, you've done the race. Yeah.
Yeah, I've raced Leadville 4 times. I have a few $100 pick up the channel.
Yeah, I figured so. If you're running a podcast, I think you have to. So
yeah, also
you can get if you can run that backside of Powerline, Sugarloaf and Hagerman, and even Turquoise is a very runnable section if you've got the ability. It's just you gotta be patient, and I'm not patient. I'm learning, but I certainly wasn't in 21.
Mm-hmm. For what it's worth, I don't think you necessarily need to run the whole time. I think I did my sub 25. I did, and I was walking all the way from May Queen to the finish, and I was comfortably under 25. So I think it's played a little bit before that. The course is so, for those who are not familiar, the course is, compared to other 100, is extremely runnable, except for the 20 mile in the middle. Everything is runnable if you have the leg, except maybe going up power line, okay, but otherwise you can really make up time. So it's about pace management, I think, and energy management much more than
Right.
speed for this course. But
Yeah.
when you blow up, you blow up. That's true.
Yeah. You know, I think in 21, my paces weren't crazy. I never felt out of control. But I think I did just, you just 70, 80 miles of running is just, it took its toll, and I just couldn't, my feet were destroyed, and I honestly didn't take care of myself at the aid stations, and just made a lot of rookie mistakes, but I still got done. I still got it finished. And
you still got it done despite the mistakes, which I think there is no races that are perfect. I think I have one race that I would consider was perfect, and the result is crazy, but otherwise it's never perfect. I think ultra running is a lot about adapting to situation and overcoming adversity more than having the perfect race. And for me, that's the attraction compared to a marathon. A marathon, you have to have everything perfect. You have to shave those seconds. Whereas at Leadville, I'm going to wipe my ass 4 times just to make sure it's clean. That's fine. I'll take the extra second, no problem. So
yeah,
just out of curiosity, so Leadville was your first 100 mile or your first ultra marathon, except that OCR thing?
Leadville 2020 was my first 100-mile run.
Okay.
The OCR thing, I think I got like 84 miles, which was all running, but obviously not. You got to stop and do stuff and whatnot in between. But so Leadville 2020 was the first time I had ever run 100 miles consecutively. 2021 was the second, and then 2024 was the third.
And you haven't done a shorter ultra marathon, like 100 Ks or 50 mile?
Oh, yeah, lots. Oh, yeah. No. I've done a lot. Yeah. Okay. A lot of 50 milers, a lot of 50, 100 Ks, but no hundreds, and nothing further than 100 or whatever Leadville is, 100.4. This was my last year to do Leadville, at least for a period of time. So I did the bike too. So that was always the goal too. It was like, I don't really care about the run. I mean, I care about the run, but I look at this as like, I'm playing 2 games. I got to get through the bike, and then, it's halftime and I'm coming out not 100%. And my opponent's going to for sure be 100% again. It's the mountain, right? So, my entire year has been based off of pacing appropriately in my runs. I'm above average, like around the people that I'm training around, really good downhill runner. I didn't want to, which is why I think I got so blown up in 21, is because I was crushing the downhills, which ultimately ended up crushing me. So this year, my whole plan was like become a much better climber, slow way down on the downhills, essentially on the steep grades of Hope, and give up time there, but get it back later when you can run. So the whole strategy all along was don't worry about, you're not going sub 25 ever. I'm not a sub 25 guy, at least at this point in my life, and probably ever. So at that point, it's about getting sub 30. And if you get 29, 59, 59, or 25, 0, 0, 01, you're in the same, you're just a finisher, right? So I really sort of used that to my advantage, like use my time wisely. And so I I know I was close. I know I was, I got a lot of pressure. I had a lot of nervous family members that you've met. But I really never felt a whole lot of pressure. I never felt uncomfortable. It just, I just kind of ran my race. And, we talk about, I agree with you that ultra marathons are about figuring things out on the fly. They're a lot like life, right? Like things go wrong. There's that saying, man plans, God laughs. Like it's got some of that, like you can have this like unbelievable plan, have trained it perfectly. All your shit is like perfect. Your crew's perfect. And just things just don't go the way you saw them going. And so, that certainly happened for me on Saturday and Sunday. In little certain ways, but from a pacing perspective and like staying in my game, and none of that went wrong for me. I felt pretty good about where I was at the whole time. And I had to like really like talk to my crew and my pacers and be like, guys, like, I know y'all are nervous and I appreciate that, but like, I'm not. Like, I feel great. And this current pace is very, very, very chill. And let's just keep going, like let's hit our cutoffs and move along.
Cole, I want to back up a second and talk about something that I missed over in an oversight was that that you did the bike race the week before. How did that go for you? And what brought that on? What spurred that on? Have you been a biker as well for a long time?
No, I've never been a biker. Well, I did Ironman, like I said, but that's been 9 years. Like I don't own a bike. I don't own a bib. Don't own bike shoes. I don't own anything. I don't even own a helmet. I joked with all my friends and family and supporters. Not one thing on me during the bike was mine. Every single thing was borrowed. I biked exactly 30 times racing. The reason I wanted to do it is because I own a gym called DiversaFit, which is this nice little plaque over my head. I love training in different modalities. And I was 265, right? Like, I think that I love running. Like, it's my favorite thing to do, so to speak, and race format. But I also think that the body is just the most efficient machine in the world. And if you just only run or only bike or only lift weights, it becomes very efficient and starts to not give you the changes that you want in your body type. And so I always say, like, let's throw wrenches in the training and just make the body figure it out. So I enjoy doing that. I probably enjoy suffering a little bit and like trying to figure things out and doing different stuff. I also love Leadville so much, and just with it being the last year, I felt like I got to try both. Like I can't let my sort of Leadville race experience end without giving this a try. And it went great. I think I did 10:42, 10:40, over 10:40, sub 10:50. It's so different than the run. I did not think it was that hard. It's a significantly more muscular style event, less of a just heavyweight fight. I was also very patient in it, like I just wanted to finish. But I had a lot left in the tank. I felt good. I was very pleased with my time. And especially for only biking 30 training sessions.
Yeah, both of us have done the bike, Simon and I as well, as well as the run.
Yeah, did you do it part of the Leadman?
No, so the reason I didn't, I went to sign up for the Leadman, and I could not. So I'm not quite sure. You guys, I'm sure know, but like if you don't finish one of them, you get your registration pulled for the others. Is that right?
No,
Something like
no,
that.
no. If you don't line up to the start, and the reason they do that is they don't want to have people sign up to Leadman and just don't bother with the 4 events and just go for the run.
And
But as long as you
just show
sign
up for
up,
the bike or show
you
up for the
show up,
run. Yeah.
you don't have to finish.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. So being in Memphis, I've got 3 little kids, a wife that's obviously very supportive, but summertime's hard, and she has a real job. She says I have a fake job, so the kids are basically with me all summer. I couldn't commit in January or whenever it was to get into the marathon, and it was for me. It was all about the hundreds anyway, so I just independently signed up for each. And so no, I did not do the Leadman, which I have no regrets about. I would not have been able to make the 50-mile. I probably would have chosen the bike. I feel like does everybody choose the bike?
Yeah.
If you're a runner, you're gonna pick the run. It's Silver Rush is not a difficult race, and if you're a biker, you're gonna pick the bike because it's not a difficult event either. So you can do both, though. That's what I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long weekend.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean,
kudos to you.
Physically speaking, it's harder to run 100 miles than bike 50, run 50. So it wasn't too bad, really. So
yeah. What year did you do it?
What was it, Brian? 22? 23?
22. So I'm confused with 22. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
22.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was rough.
Cool. So you're in Memphis, you got a gym, you're getting healthy, you're working out at the country club and swimming in the pool, doing all those things. How the heck does Leadville, Colorado come on your radar? How where's the connection? I'm missing that part of this story, and I'm not understanding that. How does that fit?
Yeah. So there's a place here called Victory Bike. It is I think it's run by Clark Butcher. It's where I went for Ironman. It's where Nick Lewis, my coach, the run coach, used to work. They have 72 Leadville buckles in their. They run a training program, and so they have 72 buckles just on the bike. Again, I never really connected with the bike community and biking in general. But that was my introduction to Leadville. And then, so in 2017, after I did that obstacle course race, I came out of that event with 2 stress fractures in my left leg. Obviously was on, the DL for months, went to a physical therapy facility here in Memphis that has an Alter G. So y'all familiar with the Alter G? It lifts you up and changes your body weight and whatnot and allows you to run. A friend of mine who actually just did Leadville with me this year and unfortunately didn't finish, now has a stress fracture of his own. But he sent me, it was a pretty dark spot. Like I'm 265, right? Like all I really want to do is just stay healthy. And I always sort of feel like I'm 3 or 4 days away from being 265 again. So, when you get stress fractures and things, it's just hard on mentally for me. And he knew I was struggling. So he sent me this a book on tape, or a book, like whatever it's called, an audio book, the Tara Mahara, Born to Run. Listen to that while I was doing the Alter G, and just sort of like connected it with Clark and his bike shop and all those guys that have been out there. I love the mountains, right? Like I love you guys, or Brian, you at least live in the greatest part of our country, in my opinion. And so I said, what the hell? Like, I need something now in my life. This was 2019. I need to train for something. I need to do something big. I need to try something that's going to potentially kick my ass. And, Leadville was that spot for me. And then it became a magical spot real quick. I mean, we had an obviously very unique introduction to Leadville with it not being a race, right? So we had so many Memphians out there. And I had obviously pacers the whole time instead of just at 62 because I'd never been to Leadville. I didn't know the course. It wasn't marked. Like, it was a little bit overwhelming. So we took some precautions around that. And man, Memphis fell in love with it. And like I always tell our people, we have a tradition now every single year we go, which has been every year, right? We did not go in 23, but we've been out there 2020, 21, 22, and 24 with multiple racers. And I don't think we've had less than 30, 40 Memphians fly out there for it. Every year on Friday, the racers take the crew and whoever out to Hope Pass. We park at Willis, and then they go, half of them go up and back, and some of them start a little earlier and go the whole way to Sheeps and back. And, I always tell them out there, I have no idea if it's true, but there aren't a lot of people with 40 humans out here helping them. And you guys are coming all the way from Memphis, Tennessee, which, by the way, could not be more opposite of Leadville, Colorado, right? It's at sea level. It's as flat as you can possibly get. I do think we have a lot going for us with the humidity and the training season of, May, June, July. But, that's about it. So our community has just totally, I mean, we're all in on it. And I won't necessarily race it again right now. But you bet your ass I'm coming. I'll be there. And every year I tell people, like, look, if you're going to want to potentially do this one day, come crew, come pace, like, get to know, because you're going to have to be the sort of CEO of this whole thing for you, and having knowledge of it from now a crew or a pacer's perspective is going to be very advantageous for you. So I don't know if that answered your question, but we sure love it.
Yeah, I live really close. I shared offline that I live really close to Leadville. I'm probably only 55 miles as the crow flies. Probably takes me an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes to drive there in a vehicle. Simon's been there for the last 4 years. It's actually where Simon and I met at in 2021. That's where Simon and I met. I've been there for quite a few years already, and it does have a grip on you. It does reel you in and give you that sense of community that maybe some of us are looking for, especially in that small mountain town. The air's pretty thin, not much pressure in the air, so it is a pretty special place.
Yeah,
and it doesn't surprise me that you guys are coming out in the flocks. Yeah,
yeah. We on Friday, so we do that. Everybody kind of comes out Wednesday or Thursday. It's a very easy flight. I mean, it's direct to Denver, and then it's a hour and a half drive, 2 hour drive. So we don't just go hole up in the house. I mean, we're out on town enjoying Treeline. The Famous, which was new to me this year, is a unbelievable place. We're out, right? Like, and we meet a lot of people, and I was there for obviously 2 weeks, and for, outside of Thursday to Sunday race weekend, let's call it, it was just me and the locals and a few random people, which I got to know, like meeting the locals, and it's just, I don't know, man. It was a special 2 weeks in my life that I'll never forget. And it's that way every year. There's characters around Leadville. Adam, that owns City on the Hill, and the Famous, just was like, hey man, take my cell phone. Like I'll happily accommodate all the people you got, right? Tennessee Pass folks, Tree Line. I mean, they're all just so accommodating. I know they're overwhelmed during these race weekends, and you know, I think that I know because we host 40 people there, four of the last 5 years. I mean, there's frustrations, but it's like, hey guys, listen, man, like this place is a sleepy Western town until all of us, you know, jackasses come into town and drink beers all night and food, and everybody wants to order 5 meals because they're carbing up, and you know they're not really staffed for that. So give them some grace. And but man, it's the best. It's the best. Special place in my heart for forever. Leadville will be, and I want to introduce more people to it.
Nice.
Like, that's my passion now. Is just let's get as many Memphians. Obviously, I think it's great to like cross the line in 30 hours, but I mean, I'm in 22. My brother-in-law came up and did it, and got cut at May Queen, and it's like, man, look, I don't really give a shit. Like, you're not stopping. Like, I'll walk with you for the next however long it takes. Like, you train to go 100 miles, you got 86 or whatever you got, 87 on course, and you know, it didn't work out for you, but who gives a shit? Like, don't let them dictate your goal to you, right? And so, like, let's just start walking, hanging out. And we did, and he got 100 miles, and now doesn't feel like he has to go back to do the race, but he's there every year. He's there this year to help us. And, you know, I there's a lot of empowerment, I think, at least for me, you know, in completing a massive goal like that. You know, it's not easy to do. And, you know, I think it can be potentially life-changing for people.
Cole, let's ask the big question here. What's the award for the last ass? What did you get?
Man, so I got a shotgun shell
Okay.
that Cole gave me. Cole and I have become pretty good friends over the last 4 years. So he was pretty surprised to see me finish last. I don't know why. I'm not that good. So I think he, but when he saw me, he was like, Cole, what are you doing? I was like, I'm finishing, buddy. And so he gave me, his dad obviously shot off the shotgun, which I've not ever been a part of that process. I didn't know really anything about it because, as y'all probably know, once you finish, you're getting the hell out of there and going home or wherever you're going pretty quick. But 3 minutes later, they shot a shotgun off right in front of me, which was pretty scary. My senses weren't really ready for that at the moment. And then Cole gave me the shotgun shell. And then all of my friends and supporters that were walking me in and kind of with me throughout the whole day said something about maybe a wooden spoon. I'm not sure. I didn't get anything. I know that. But I also was told I actually went into the foundation. I raced through the foundation. So my contact there said, I think you got some sort of trophy. I'll find out from the race director and let you know. So we'll see. I don't know. We may have to have a follow-up and show you my
You didn't go to the ceremony?
I didn't know. Was it right after?
It was at noon at the football field.
Yeah, they might ship it to you. Because, I mean, unlike what you say, actually, I think Brian and I are always there when the race is over. I think it's pretty traditional, actually, to,
we saw you finish.
90, you come back for the golden hour. We all saw you finish. You come back for golden hours. That's pretty traditional. The only reason I wouldn't do it is if I need to fly out. But otherwise, most runners will show up. Or,
man, well, you're making me feel bad.
That's fine.
Look, in
Don't worry about it.
I finished pretty close to the damn cutoff that year too. I should have stayed. I was annihilated, and I think I was asleep within 30 minutes. But you're right. I should have stayed.
Well, Simon came back, and I didn't even have to leave because I showed up at 29:20, so I was actually in the golden hour.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I did not go to the award ceremony. I didn't honestly know. I saw I thought the podium and all that was right next to where we finished. So I assumed that was what.
So you get your buckle at the finish line, like we all did. They'll give out some awards at the finish line, like the 10-year, the 20-year, those buckles, those big ones.
Yep.
But there is an awards ceremony at noon on at the football field where the racer meeting was, and they'll do the lead man, they'll do the age groups, they'll do overalls, and potentially they might have done the last ass over the past.
Yeah. Well, I'm sad I missed it because I was awake and.
Well, maybe Veronica will help you out at the foundation and get you that the rightful the trophy to the rightful owner. So I hope you see that soon.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't even like that people say it's the last person. It's the last official finisher, but it's definitely not the last person. It's more like true mid packer. You're basically the median finishing at that point. I mean, some people finish after you, but over 30 hours. Some people might have continued, like you mentioned, after the cutoff at May Queen and doing it, which I didn't realize, but it's true. Leadville is probably one of the only race I would accept someone doing that. Otherwise, it can kind of, if it's a race in the mountain, guys, you shouldn't do that. If you miss a cutoff, you go off the course. Otherwise, there was someone who died in Europe doing that. So, but around Turquoise Lake is pretty safe, and that's not going to be an issue.
And we actually went off course. We just went onto the road and did it. Just got his watch.
No, but it's fine. It's a fine place for that. You're not in the high mountain. Nothing's going to happen there. It's just you miss a cutoff, and cutoff at Leadville are kind of progressive anyway, so it happens.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I was just saying that cutoff at May Queen. I did. I had to sweat that a little bit. I got in with 6 minutes or 7, something like that, and that was hard. But that was really the only time I felt like really pressed coming in.
I mean, that's starting to be where you actually have to wonder, and maybe you know the answer because I don't. Is the cutoff coming in the aid station or it's going out of the aid station?
It's going out.
Going out.
It's going out.
So you came in 6 minutes.
You have to leave the aid station.
Take your stuff, and you had to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I came in like 8.5, 9. I spent 2. Just doing whatever we did, and then I took off. Yeah, to try to stay ahead. We were, as you can imagine, just the entire time, basically from 50 on. Let me ask y'all a question. So you guys have done bike and run. You've done Leadman. So my quads I felt totally fine from the bike until I started running. The fatigue showed up probably outward boundish, and probably because I didn't press. I stuck to my game plan and slowed down on the down of power line, but it's still down, right? And so I got to outward, took it pretty easy again by game plan all the way to Twin. Got to Twin at 8:30ish. Climbed well, downside of Hope going out, right? So the backside of Hope, man, I couldn't run down, and it was all quads. They did the fatigue. I just couldn't. It wasn't there. I couldn't hold myself back when I was trying to. Is that bike?
Well, it could be. I mean, it could be for sure. The biking will hurt your quads, and the downhill is the quads, but it could also just be the downhill by itself. Leadville is not necessarily the most downhill course you'll find, but after 15,000 feet, you will feel it, and it's good if it's only hurting your quads. But if you push that a little further, then you might have knee pain that can be pretty bad, and that can lead to DNF much more than the quad pain. But yeah, I had heavy leg after the mountain biking, but I mean that was the least of my concern, honestly. I think I crashed my mountain bike race, broke a rib, so that was a bigger issue. But yeah, I had the heavy leg for sure.
Yeah,
how about you, Brian?
So I'd say, Cole, that I think one of the things that we see a lot is the flatlander, like you explained, showing up in the mountains and running. You probably did a lot of training on whatever hills you had, but basically you did a lot of it on treadmill or Stairmaster or some type of mechanical device. I'd imagine. I'm just guessing. I don't know for a fact. And it doesn't simulate the downhill parts of it. You're getting the uphill parts of it by working on the treadmill, working on a Stairmaster, getting that uphill gain. But it's hard to simulate that downhill gain, and you just weren't used to it. Without doing it, it's hard to get used to. You know, I'm fortunate I do live in the mountains, so I do run up a mountain. I have to turn around and run back down it to get back to my car. So I do get the downhill side of it. And so maybe that was part of the issue that you experienced. The bike does fatigue the quads. Just depends on what muscle group you were using to fire those. If you're riding a bigger gear and mashing a bigger gear, it's probably more of your quads. If you had a smaller gear and you were spinning, probably more of your hamstrings. So I don't know those are my assumptions, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I spent part of my love for doing Leadville is also traveling all summer for Leadville. So we spend a lot of time. We were in Leadville the entire week of camp, and then for 10 days in Telluride in the San Juans, just on that in that part of the world. So I mean, we got downhill, but yeah, I mean, there's only so much we can do. I'm never inside on a Stairmaster or an elliptical, but we can't run down a lot of hills. You know, not like Hope Pass, not like Powerline, or anything on that course for the most part. So yeah, I think it was the bike. That's my only guess. I didn't have the quad issues in 21. I think I'm stronger, fitter, certainly more experienced. But that was my best guess. It's just, I mean, it's 100 miles on a mountain bike, and yeah, I mean, I didn't like press it, try to crush this thing and do the best I could on the bike. I just tried to finish, but that's hard, that takes a toll. So, yeah.
I want to go back to a point Simon brought up a little bit ago, just to touch on it. And you are awarded the last ass over the pass. You finished with, I think, about 4.5 minutes to spare, if I'm correct, right in there, roughly. Yeah, right in there. So it's 29:55 and a half minutes.
Yep.
Right in there. So you had 4.5 minutes to spare. You were the last official finisher. Your official finish position in the race was 399th overall. And so it's actually a good thing that Simon brought it up, and that's where I was going with this, is that there was 832 starters. So of course you get the award for the last ass over the pass as the last official finisher. There's probably 5 or 6 listed behind you that have done over 30 hours. They get the medal, but they don't get the buckle or the ultra sign up saying they're an official finisher, right? But otherwise, you beat over half the field that did not finish. They didn't even get to that point, to that finish line. So I don't think there's any. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's a great award. It's super fun, and we are all excited watching the golden hour of it. Watching everyone come in last minute and trying to see who can get the closest to it and still be in the clear on it.
Yeah. Listen, I take no offense to being last ass over the pass. I think it's a great award. I think you have to. I mean, I jokingly tell everybody I finished dead last. But the key there is finished, right? Which was always my particular goal. And also, like, I think it's important, or I think I take a lot of pride in being last because I've come a long way. I mean, I've lost 100 pounds. I did do the bike, right? Like there's factors, and I also own a gym, probably most importantly of this, that, which is filled with people that they're showing up for the first time, not in shape. They don't feel good about themselves. They're not where I am in my life at this point. but I was where they were. And I know where they are is a hard place to be, but it's also a place that I kind of wish sometimes I could go back to, because I like to fight. You know, I don't want to literally pick any fights, but like I want to. Let's go. Like if you want a competition or a challenge, like I'm all for it. Right? I'm gonna show up prepared and ready to fight. Right? And so I lose some of that in my life right now until I sign up. Leadville years, I got a fight on my hands, right? And I don't miss fighting, but I don't do Leadville every year. You know, it's an every 3-year thing at this point, or essentially my ultra endurance racing is an every 2 to 3 year thing. And so those middle years where I'm not doing that, I miss that. Right. And so, I don't think I'm necessarily an inspiration to the masses and some Instagram, guy that everybody's going to follow. But like being Mr. Average there's a hell of a lot of average people out there, like by definition, probably more so than anyone exceptional. So like to represent them and have I have 0 exceptional traits. And so to get it done, right? Like if anybody can do it. Like if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm very confident of that. Now you're going to have to work your ass off, and you're going to have to train hard, and you're going to have to be willing to, at some point, probably go dark and run on massive blood blisters and do things that are just somewhat insane, but you can get it done, right? Like you can be an average dude or female and get this thing done. So I'll wear that title all day with a lot of pride, which is what I am, right in the middle. 399 out of 800.
Well, you think of marathoners and marathoners. I think if you finish a marathon, you're like 2% of the population finishes a marathon ever in their lifetime. So, finish a 100-miler at Leadville with really aggressive cutoffs, it puts you in a smaller population than that. So I think anybody that finishes Leadville challenges himself, puts himself to the test, and gets it done twice now, is more than average, quite honestly. So I don't think you should sell yourself short by any means. You're doing great things. It sounds like you're motivating the community locally with a gym and a fitness facility, keeping that going. It sounds like you have a wonderful family that we can hear in the background with kids and wife and the whole thing. And you're bringing the community out to Leadville and sharing your love of Leadville with your community of Memphis. So all those things are admirable and should never be. You should never sell yourself short on those things that you're doing for the community in general.
Well, thank you. It's an easy sell, though.
Cole, so you say you're going to take a break for a couple years. What do you do with these breaks? Are you doing other events? Are you doing different sports? Are you doing different disciplines? Are you just taking a breather from sport itself? What's going on there?
I hadn't decided. I really want to go. So next year, 2025, I think we've got 20 of us going to do the TMB. In a 5-day period. So we've got that in July. There may be some Leadville signups. There's some discussion right now, very private. So there's not a lot of pressure, but we may have a few racers come from Memphis next year, which I'll obviously be involved in and go support them. I don't know. I don't have another race. I mean, I enjoy the mountains so much. When I just, it's not that I don't want to do Leadville anymore. I just feel like doing 100 miles, I'm only going to do it once every couple years. I want to see some different mountains at this point, You got any suggestions on races I can get in that are worth doing?
Yeah, I mean, if you like the San Juan, go do Ouray 100.
I knew Simon was going to come out with that one. I knew it.
Yeah,
it's my favorite city. And The Ouray 100 or the Ouray is my favorite city in Colorado that I've ever been.
They have a really tough.
That's perfect.
The Ouray 100 is really, really tough. It's got about 43,000 vertical gain. It's a bit more than hard. It's a bit more than Hard Rock. But my gosh, I mean, as long as the sun is up, there's not a bad view. As long as you can see it, as long as the sun is up and you can see, there's not a bad view anywhere in sight. When the sun goes
and
down,
you have a lot of time to enjoy it over 50 hours, so it's perfect.
It's true.
It's not like Leadville, you don't have to run.
Ouray 100. When is it?
It's a July race.
July? Yeah, it was a little bit before Leadville last year, like 2-3 weeks.
Have you guys done it?
Yeah.
We both did it the same year, I think 23 last year.
Yep.
Successfully.
Amazing.
Simon,
Yes, we did.
Simon a little more successful than I was.
We were an hour apart, 2 hours. It's not
something like
we're
that.
We're pretty close.
Yeah. Actually, we were pretty close because we passed on Bridge to Heaven. The last climb, we passed each other.
Is it a loop or out and back?
It's a little bit of everything, quite honestly. It's a great question. It's got a lot of out and backs. You do like saddle over to towards like Silverton, and then you do a loop over there. You actually do a loop forward, and then you do a loop in reverse, and you come back. You do some more out and backs, but it actually never feels that repetitive. It doesn't look like a great course on paper or like in the GPX file when you look at it, but when you're out there, I mean, if you're out there long enough that you see it on the daylight going out and you don't see it on the daylight coming back, and so it's just a totally different trail. And the out and backs are kind of
the mountain
strange.
there.
Yeah,
the mountain there. It's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous.
Oh, it's amazing.
So,
I don't think
highly
there's
recommend.
a better mountain than San Juan's range. It's a better mountain range that I've been involved, that I've seen. Man, it's beautiful.
Have you played in the 14ers there?
No,
you should do that too. Some good one. The Wilson group is really cool. The Chicago Basin is really cool. And if you're not much of a mountaineer, maybe Mount Schneefel is actually pretty nice and not that hard to do.
Yeah. Okay. I think I did go do that when I was in Telluride, or portions of it. We drove over. There was something I was. Oh yeah, Imogene Pass Run. Have you guys done that?
Yeah, it's part of the course for Ouray.
It's part of the course for Ouray. I haven't done it as an event though, as the Imogene Pass Run. I did it in Ouray at a different time.
Yeah. What's the story on that run? It's pretty hard to get into. I mean, I know it's only 17 miles, but.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it. I know it's fall colors. You run really far up and over the pass, and you wind up in the next town over. It's usually popular, and it's a bit shorter. It was beautiful when we were on it in the Ouray 100. We only did the Ouray side of it. We didn't go down the backside. We went up the Ouray side of it. We did a couple out and backs, different angles, and then came back down it to return before we went up the $1 Million Highway towards Silverton in the Ouray 100. So,
gotcha. Does the Ouray 100 go up the $1 Million Highway?
It goes over Richmond Ridge, which connects you back into the highway. You cross it briefly. You cross it like twice at that point when you do a loop over on that side of town. But yeah, it's a really well-ran event. It's pretty small, low-key, easy to get in, no lotteries at this point. I think it did sell out this year, but it took about 3 or 4 months, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Someone's posting a movie about it, so people sign up. You got to put your name early.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that next. So tell me, 50 hours. Are you
52?
Is there still 52 hours? I mean, are you sleeping?
Yeah. Well, I mean, depends on who, but yeah, I did sleep a little bit. I sleepwalk a lot though. But Brian, you slept, right?
I did take a little cat nap of some sort here and there, but not that much, quite honestly. It's challenging. You can walk it, or you can fast hike it. You can get it done that way, but the clock's always ticking, like any event. And so, when you're sleeping, you're not moving forward. If if you're really tired and you're not moving forward efficiently, then you probably need to lay down and get some sleep. So it's always like this payoff of juggling act of what's in your best interest at that very moment. So
Anything in particular different with pacing or anything? Like they allow pacers and all that?
pretty standard stuff. It's later in the race. I think it's roughly a halfway point-ish that they allowed a pacer. Pretty decent crew access and pretty easy just because of the nature of the out and backs. I thought, I went with a brand new pacer and a brand new crew guy that I met online. so I got to meet new people like right on the trail. They were from New Zealand visiting, so they weren't even from the States. Yeah, it was kind of crazy, but it was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a great event. Well, Cole, we appreciate your time this evening. You got a gym in Memphis. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us where we could find you on social media, and if people wanted to reach out and maybe they're in the Memphis area, they wanted to get a workout in. What's the story with that?
Yeah, love to have them. My Instagram is at Cole Giovannetti, Giovannetti. The gym, we actually have two different gyms. One is called DiversaFit, which was the original gym. It's really more of an app that allows people like me to train in diverse ways. We began as just an app, and we partner with two CrossFit gyms, a yoga facility, two spin studios, a HIIT style gym. As that demand grew and memberships grew, we realized, much like running and anything else in life, people wanted to work out together. And so we took out space on a street here in Memphis, in a 6,000 square foot building, and built out our own private gym, which we call Higher Memphis. That's HIGHER Memphis. We do, I would say it's a cross between, or it's not Orange Theory, but it's not CrossFit. It's somewhere in the middle. It's a hybrid. We do a lot of endurance work, believe it or not. So Monday is sort of our endurance day. It's an hour class where, you're doing some rowing, some ski machine. Y'all know the ski erg, like the thing you pull down on. So we do a lot of ski erg stuff. We have Versa climbers. We obviously running. So, we kind of mix it all up and create a race format for an hour. Tuesdays and Thursdays are strength days where we're working 30, 45 minutes on very low heart rate, truly strength driven stuff. Take a break and then send you out with a little sweat, high heart rate sweat. And then Wednesdays and Fridays are both sort of endurance days, but what I would call like a mixture between strength and cardio, where we're going to ask you to do a certain amount of like dumbbell snatches or box step ups at a rate that's going to, boost the heart rate up pretty good. So that's it. Yeah, those two gyms, Higher Memphis and DiversaFit.
Well, thanks again, Cole. We appreciate your time. Hey, all the best. Congrats on your finish, your second finish here at Leadville. And we'll be keeping an eye out for your next adventure. Maybe we'll see you in Ouray sometime.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate you having me.